What is up, dropouts? Welcome home. We are a podcast for the creative looking to enrich their life with knowledge. We won't be giving you 3 ways to get rich quick. We are for the college avoider, the corporate dropout, the person burning the midnight oil on their next big project, and apparently we are for non-profit burnouts too. We are here to talk to you, offer up the processes that work for us in our business, and to be real about the ones that don't. This might be your new fave podcast. What's up, guys? I'm Jessa.
And I'm Cameron.
And this is Sara. Sara is our Sara's our very first interviewee, and we are so excited. Lucky number 13.
Yes, I love it.
Sara called herself a non-profit burnout, which I'm obsessed with. And
I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I know. I love it. So we are going to let Sara take the floor and explain a little bit about what she does.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, do I make myself the third amigo in that intro?
Always.
So we're notorious for being super awkward to work for.
Always.
Totally fine. I'm really bad with like awkward silences, but I'm really great at making conversations awkward. So it's fine. Hey, everyone that's listening. Hello. My name's Sara. I am the founder, CEO, accountant, marketing specialist, branding specialist. I do everything in my business, which is 99 in St. Clair. And yeah, like everybody said, I am a nonprofit burnout. I was in the space for 10 years. I actually, and we could probably get into my story a little bit more if you guys want. But I wanted to be a museum curator. That was my dream. Like 5th grade, I went to the Henry Ford Museum and I got to see the civil rights exhibit at the Henry Ford Museum. It had Kennedy's car, he was assassinated, and it had Lincoln's chair with the blood still on it and Rosa Parks' bus. And I literally, in that moment, 12 years old, like I never wanted to do anything else but tell stories. Like that was my dream. I was working, going through college, that was what I worked on. My undergrad is in public history and digital media. And then I couldn't get a job. The job growth market is 2% over 10 years in the museum space. And going to Texas State University, they don't prepare you either. And so I was like, cool, like, what do I do? But luckily I had done AmeriCorps to pay for my first 2 years of school. And so I had stuck in the nonprofit space. And so I was running the communications team and really developing stories. And I had created this entire campaign about women in construction and really bringing to light, like, people fucking matter and their stories matter, regardless of if mainstream media is going to cover them or not. It's always been really important to me that people every day that we talk to online or, like us sitting in the Zoom call, we fucking matter regardless of what, anyone else says or how many followers we have. And so I've always made that my bottom line. And so kind of as I was hitting my limit in the nonprofit space, I really had hit this ceiling where I couldn't move up, I couldn't move around, I couldn't find another job. And I had simply joined a Facebook group and somebody was like, I need help with my website. And I was like, I can do that. Like I had been building, I was a blogger, I'd been building websites for years. And before I knew it, this was like maybe November of 2018. Yeah, 2018. And by March of 2019, I had 40 clients. I didn't even have a business name. I was using Venmo. Like I had no like business foundation. And I had landed 40 clients. And then South by came. I live here in Austin. So I went to South by Southwest. And I went to the Create and Cultivate pop-up that Jacqueline has for free every year. Her conferences are like $4,000 a person, but she does it for free at South by. And I went home that night. I built my website. I named my business. And within 6 months, I quit my job. And I've been doing it full time for 2 years. So that's a very long overview, very quick kind of full circle. But yeah, and I work with museums now and nonprofits and it's really fulfilling because it's like I can still do the impact, but I don't have to deal with the politics
100%
of working for a nonprofit. And that's like 100%. The best thing you can ever have.
Yeah.
So we are here to ask you some interview questions.
Love it.
So,
I would hope so.
just listening to you talk, I literally had chills. Like
she's amazing. Like,
oh my God.
Cam talks so much about you.
The drive is just like phenomenal, and it like gets on you, and you're like, oh, I gotta step it up. Like,
yeah, that energy, give it to me. I want to bathe in it. Like, bring it back.
Oh my God. And I think I appreciate those words. I really do.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people don't talk about is how much personal work you have to do to get to a space like this.
Yes.
And so something I didn't touch on is, I had a lot of childhood trauma. My dad went to federal prison when I was 15. He's still there. My mom left when I was 8, and I knew very early on, even though I am a statistic, there's 1 in 28 kids in America who have a parent incarcerated before they turn 18. And so that's a statistic that I know I'm a part of, but it doesn't define me. It's not who I am. But I also know that I don't, I went to, oh my God, I have to tell you guys this story. So when I was 18, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to therapy and like deal with my problems and, do all those things. And I had a therapist literally, your first session, you sit there and you kind of word vomit what's wrong with you. Right. And this therapist, I got done saying, I've been through sexual abuse and domestic abuse, and like my fucking parents are shitty and like all this stuff. And the therapist literally was like, wow, I'm surprised you're not pregnant or on drugs for everything you've been through. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what? Like, and that moment, I never wanted to prove that therapist wrong. And so I've done nothing for the last 10 years, but really work on myself, work on my mindset, work on how I have relationships with people, because I'm terrible at it. I'm not emotional. I'm an INTJ. Like, I don't cry. I don't believe in crying. Like, and so, but it's taken me a lot to get here, a lot of hard self-worth, especially like your relationship with money, I think is like like new entrepreneurs or freelancers or whatever. We all were raised in a very shitty environment when it comes to finances. Like, we don't know what it means to like have money and not feel guilty for having money, or, like my parents, my dad literally went to prison for embezzling money, like legit. Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, anytime I get an invoice, I'm like, I have to do this right, because I don't want to ever like be tax evaded or like, I just don't want to do any of those things. And so even like my relationship with money, I literally wake up every day and tell myself like, I deserve whatever's coming my way, whatever that looks like. And I think as a lot of like new designers, and I'm sorry I'm going on this big long tangent. I'm so
please continue. Please.
Keep going.
Cam and I are over here like, just keep talking.
Yeah. I think like for us to, a lot of new entrepreneurs, and I think Cameron, we talked about this, like our first time we chatted, but like, everyone's like, well, if it's not $4,000 project, which is what I've set out to have in my budget, in my business, I don't want that project. And I'll tell you straight up, my best project I've ever done, I charged $650 for it. And the client has now been picked up by Target, by Whole Foods. They are engineering manufacturing dispensaries for their tampons and pads. And FSU is going to be carrying them in every single bathroom on campus. And I charged $600 for the project, and it's my best project I've ever done. So, I think that is a huge mindset shift of like experiences and wanting this journey to continue in whatever way it's meant to shape, rather than saying no to experiences. And so I've had to do a lot of that kind of work. And, and now people think I'm very ego focused. I'm like overly confident, but it's like, you guys you don't see what it's taken me to get here.
Yeah. You have to be in your own corner. If you're not your biggest fan, who the fuck is going to be? Like
nobody.
Nobody. So confident. And that's
the corner.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you were talking about how we were raised by, this generation that, money was not talked about. It was none of your business. Children were to be seen.
Save. But like, what is that even?
How are you going to teach us how to save? Right.
Exactly.
Right. Like,
no credit cards. Don't have a credit card because you're going to mess it up.
Yep.
Right. It was no show how to do it. It was just, don't touch that. Don't do this. Don't be there. All of these things. And now we're going into, we're also recovering from not being allowed to be proud of ourselves. We're recovering from not being allowed to, to look at ourselves and to be okay with the way that we look, and accepting our bodies and our talents and the gifts that we're able to give this world. I have such a hard time with money, such a hard time. People want to give me money and I'm like, oh no, because I know what it feels like to go without it. And I never had a healthy relationship with it because I never saw it. I was never talked to about it. It was always going out the window, or it was never my business.
Yep.
So now I'm an adult with a 3-year-old, and and my husband and I are going, okay,
moves.
how do we fix this? How do we make it to where Sophia doesn't grow up in a world where she's afraid to be proud of herself and she's afraid to touch money? Because that's been like one of my biggest struggles in my business is accepting that money that's coming toward me and not feeling guilty about it.
Asking for what
and asking. Yes. Cam gets on to me all the time.
And I think even like, on a larger scale, I recently started investing. I knew nothing. Like when I had heard about stocks, it's like shitty people on Wall Street, like wearing, like Leonardo. Yes. I was just going to say 100%. Like Leonardo DiCaprio. And there's not a lot of healthy conversation around these things. And there's actually a group that I'm a part of. I'm a member of. It's called Elvest. And it is strictly a membership to help you finance appropriately. And they teach you about investing, and they have like a banking system that I'm not a part of yet. Cause I don't know about that, but like their curriculum is fantastic. And so I recently started investing probably like maybe October. Yeah. For my birthday. I got into Robinhood and I invest now. And like, I feel like it's fucking cool. Like me and my boyfriend are like, our portfolios are diversifying. And like, we're like, oh my God, we got into AMC. Like I made so much money on AMC stock, and it's just like, this is fucking cool.
It's like a whole nother universe opens up.
It is.
I've recently started, my wife's sister's boyfriend is like really into stocks. He's about to start a podcast about stocks and like investing.
Hell yeah.
And so I just sat when we talked for like 20 minutes and I was like, we talked about silver and we talked about gold and we talked about stocks. And I was like, I have never talked about any of this type of stuff with my parents, and their mind would be blown because they just, and it's not their fault. Again, Black people are very behind when it comes to money. Yeah. We don't even own our own houses still. Like we don't have. So it's one of those things where it's like, we're going to have to go and get it somewhere else, but I'm going to start now going and getting it. Instead of and I think a big part of that is like not feeling guilty for the age you are now and you're starting. I'm 27 and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so behind. But it's like, no, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And I have the knowledge now that I probably wouldn't have been able to handle, 5-10 years ago, I say that all the time. Gosh. Yeah. I say that all the time. Because, yeah, go ahead, Jessa.
Okay. We were actually talking about that. Em and I were talking about that the other day about how, a lot of us, we get upset at the choices that our parents made and the way that they affected us growing up, that generational trauma. But then we look back and go, man, if I was my parents' age and I had 3 kids, I'm 28 and I have 1 kid and I barely know what to do with myself. But a lot of our parents were raised by other people who were literally kids raising kids, kids raising more kids. And so it just became this giant puddle of just confusion and trauma. Yeah. And now that's what we're sitting in right now. So the fact that we are sitting at the age that we are, this is what is meant to happen. This is where you're supposed to be. This is where you're learning who you are and what you need to be doing, what your path is, when most of us or most of our parents started having children before they were even out of high school. So it's like this vicious cycle that now we're going, hold on, wait. We don't want to be a part of this anymore. And it's nothing against teen pregnancy. Obviously that's not what I said, but being young and having those children and not being able to do that personal growth is what a lot of us had to experience. And now we're trying to teach ourselves. Well,
and I think to go off of that too is, we were raised to you have to get a 9-to-5, you have to get a successfully paying job. And it's cool to have hobbies, but you need to take care of your bills first. And for me, I'm a first-gen college grad. I put myself through 2 degrees, because I thought that's what I had to do in order to find success. And I didn't know, I talk about this a lot, but the first entrepreneur on a day-to-day level that I ever interacted with was Johnny Cupcakes. If you guys have ever heard of him, he owns a t-shirt line called Johnny Cupcakes. His name is Johnny Earl in real life. And he literally worked at a joke shop, made a t-shirt out of a joke, and now is a multi-millionaire. His entire family works for him. And I'm obsessed with his brand. He makes limited edition shirts, and he's like partnered with The Simpsons. He's partnered with Nickelodeon. Like he's done all these cool things, but I didn't know that like I could do this. I didn't know that like my love for storytelling and music, like my brand is very hip hop focused. Like literally my homepage of my website has like a quote from Nipsey Hussle. Like I live and breathe hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
part of the culture. I might be real white, but I'm part of the culture. You know, but you know, for me, it's like, I didn't realize like my hobbies could make me money, and that was okay. And I think, you know, a lot of people that are starting out in the freelance world, it's really overwhelming to realize how much more is out there. And I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs fail, because they just like, it's just this whole other world. Yeah. But I think when you really tap into your baseline, your why, what you love on a day-to-day basis, that can carry you so much farther. And I used to think like finding your why was bullshit. But then I sit and I have conversations like this. It's like, no, like I, like Lauren Graham says in Gilmore Girls, like I have gone full freaking circle to, you know, last November, I built the website for the San Antonio Holocaust Museum. And so I look back and it's like, I was 12 years old in this civil rights exhibit, and now I'm doing shit about the Holocaust. And I grew up hearing stories about my great grandfather in World War II. And like, you know, and so to me, it's like, this is where I was meant to be, 100%. But no one could educate me on how to get here. I had to find it myself. You know?
And my wife says, she has a quote where she's like, your parents can only get you however far they got to.
Exactly.
And they'll never be able to get you past that, which is fine. But we need to understand that when we raise kids, that they're going to have to figure it out on their own and be strong enough and have the fortitude to be able to do that.
Do you guys think that there is a way for us to teach the next generation how to find themselves? Like, how do we take the information we did not have and pass it on to that next generation? What do you think that looks like?
So from the way that I'm raising Cass, we put him in the situations to make those decisions. So when he becomes 9 or 10 years old, we'll give him a bank account. And we'll be like, well, here's a bank account. Here's your card. When you want something, you swipe this card, and that's how you learn how to do that. And then this number subtracts whenever you do. So, and we're doing like a very Montessori way of raising him. So this dude has a broom, a dustpan, and a mop in the kitchen. And he'll just sweep. And he's just sweeping the floor and mopping. But and some people say it's so you can have your kids do work for you, which is hilarious. But that's not why we're doing it. We want them to understand that the world is like, you're in the world already. You're a kid, but the world, you're already a part of it. There's it starts when you're 18. No, it doesn't. It started when you were born.
Yeah.
Right.
The world is already here. We want you to experience as much as you can, so that when you do leave our house from being around us, you understand how the world works, and you don't have to go, because there's a friend of mine who went and joined the military, and he got made fun of because he didn't know how to wash his own laundry. And just that kind of stuff. We're like, that's basic, super basic, but there's people out there who don't even know how to do that stuff. So
there's people that
when you
don't
start your life,
to
now you have
them,
to learn how to wash clothes before you even learn how to invest or or run a business. When I was 18, I didn't have I did not have the mindset to run a business at all. And I shouldn't have been running a business.
Yeah.
So,
I think kind of the next step out of that is to not penalize kids for having multiple interests. I feel like I was really, like I look back at my childhood, and, my stepmom came into my life when I was 2, and I'm still really close with her and my siblings, obviously. But I remember her being like, well, you can't play this sport because you're not going to like being outside. Like, I wasn't allowed to play soccer because it was in multiple weather. I wasn't allowed to be a cheerleader because cheerleaders were sluts. I wasn't allowed to, I had to play volleyball, right? And then I got into band, and I wasn't allowed to play the drums because they were too loud. I wasn't allowed to play a reed instrument because I wasn't going to like the taste. And so I was told that I had to like the flute if I wanted to be in band. Now, mind you, I fell in love with the flute. I fucking loved being in marching band and wearing all those, the feathers on my head and like hanging out at football games. But my thing is, like, I feel like my parents were so afraid of me being good at something different that I wasn't allowed to have multiple interests, which I feel like really, I don't want to say tunnel vision me, because I still feel like I'm tunnel visioned in a healthy way now, but it didn't allow me to learn about the world. And I talk about this a lot, but like, I was raised in a very white Catholic environment. Like I would say now, like, I don't really know if like my parents were racist, but like I definitely was not talked to about color. I had to learn all of that on my own. And so when I found hip hop, I literally was probably like maybe 14 when I heard my first hip hop song. And I was like, holy shit, like there's a whole fucking world out there. Yep. And it was almost like an embarrassment that like I didn't know about these things when I was 15. And then when like my dad went to prison, it was like another Tuesday. Like no one talked to me about it. No one ever said anything. And so finding another community that was like, I fit in this and it's okay to fit into something different, I think is how we can move this generation forward of like, and also not penalizing kids for wanting to pivot. You know, if you like drawing one year and then you want to do video the next year, who the fuck cares? Like be a generalist. It's okay to do that.
All the big guys pivot, all of them. They know how to pivot when it's time.
And I, you know, the margin of mass success of joining the NFL or joining, you know, the 400 people that play in the NBA, like that is such a small margin that like we need to step away from what general mass media success looks like and let our kids, and I'm not a parent, I'm very much a dog mom and I'm fine with that. But like, you know,
moms are dope.
Yes, let these kids, you know, really find their path and find success in whatever they want. And, you know, for me, like my grandmother has always been like, as long as you're not doing drugs, like I don't really care, you know, like as long as, you know, as long as heroin doesn't come in, like it's cool, you know. But, exactly. And I think like not penalizing people for pivoting. And I think even our colleagues in our industry, we need to stop penalizing people for allowing themselves to experiment and adventure into other places.
100%,
you know,
100%.
Like me, when I started pivoting into business strategy, I would get DMs like daily that was like, you're so confusing in your Instagram content. And like, I'm not going to follow you anymore. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, don't follow me then. Like, this is, if you had been paying attention, I've been literally talking about business plans since the day I started my business. Right. Like I'm just now talking about it more out of the one-on-one client work I'm doing, and you're mad that you're not doing it. So allow people to pivot, you know?
For sure. Something you said about what success is supposed to look like NBA and all the NFL and the big names like that is they've also conditioned us to think that being an engineer, lawyer, or doctor is the only way you can go and be successful.
Yes.
Which is the furthest thing from the truth. Because I can speak on being an engineer, and a lot of the stuff I learned in college and was told I was going to do, we didn't do. Yep. I was basically in another form of like a go for most in most situations. I didn't get to think for myself. I didn't get to make decisions for myself. So it was like, I did all this. I spent 6 years going to college for this when I could have started doing design at the age of 18 and maybe read some books or had been in an apprentice program or found someone to be under and stayed at home with my parents, and we could be way further into this. Yes, I know experiences are supposed to happen for a reason, but
but I also think like you shouldn't penalize yourself or make yourself feel guilty, because you know, I did that for a minute of like, why the fuck did I go to like a liberal arts school and this? But like, it taught me to have conversations differently. It taught 100%. Me to think differently. And so I think like having an engineering background, you actually have an advantage because of how you lead with different things. But
and I can tell you what that advantage
and it's like,
is.
fuck.
Yeah. So that advantage is, I understand processes when a lot of people don't. So if I need to go and like make a process, I can do that. And I can think in the bigger picture when a lot of people have a hard time thinking in the bigger picture. So that's kind of my superpower. And that's why branding really works for my mind. Like I can think, well, what does it need to say? Well, we can make it say that all the way through all this design. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm thankful that I do understand that. It took a little while to get to, but it's here.
And now you're kicking butt. Look at your business.
Kicking ass and taking names.
We got more. We're going up. 2021, we're going higher. So
hell yeah.
Always.
I remember my my biological dad. I have a very fun family history as well. But my biological dad told me, I didn't meet him till I was like 16. But he said he remembered being young and being in elementary school. And they said, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And he said, I wanted to be a police officer. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a military guy. And I wanted to be an EMT. And they said, you can't do all of those. You need to pick one. And he looked at me and he said, don't you ever let anybody tell you that you can't be anything, because I've been all four. In his he's done every single one of those. And he is still, he just retired from the military, but he has been a police officer. He's been a park ranger. He's been an EMT. I mean, literally everything, firefighter, all of it. He's done all of it because he could and he wanted to. And he's good at it. Like,
and that, I mean, there's definitely things that I feel like, you know, education might trump. I mean, I wanted to be an astronaut for a hot minute, but I'm terrible at math. And so I was like, I'm never going to qualify. But now I look at it as, okay, well, when they need a new website or they want to launch a new program, baby, you could call me. Let's go. Like I can, and that's, I think, like, that's the bottom line, right? Is that you want to work for NASA. You want to, like, I wanted to work for the Smithsonian. That was my dream. I still, like, if they call me, I'm not even going to question it. It's like, let's go to DC. Right. Yeah. But there's so many jobs that play a part into that bigger picture that, you know, I've always respected blue collar workers so much. Like my great grandfather was so basically, you know, my great grandparents were alive till I was almost in high school. My great grandmother's mother died when I was 5. So I'm very close to like my older generations. And, you know, so I grew up, I remember my great grandfather working in construction. My boyfriend is literally a master plumber. Like I am surrounded by these jobs, and they play so much more role than like a CEO does in building these companies up. And I think, you know, it's okay to find success in those roles too. And most of them pay more than the job you think you want. And so, you know,
it's like
there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. You know,
when my husband got a call from BNSF, the railroad, he had applied 4 years beforehand and then finally got a call, and he dropped everything and said, we're moving to St. Louis. And I said, yes, sir.
Love it. I have a family friend who drives trains, and he's like, it is the best fucking job in the world. I wouldn't change it at all.
It's insane. I mean, they get paid pretty great, but some of the stuff they do, I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like,
well,
like,
and that's
so important.
Issue. Yeah.
Like I didn't know it's like a over a large percentage. So there's semi trucks. Everybody goes, oh, food comes from semi trucks. Well, apparently, right over my head. No, trains do a majority of the shipping and the moving and everything else. Semi trucks are after that. I had no idea. And he's like, they're shipping like millions and billions of dollars of stuff every single day. And like, if the trains shut down, that's when the world shuts down.
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, cause I worked at Clorox for a little bit, and we're in the side of the plant. Yeah. Like in Atlanta, I worked at Clorox, and it was a dope job. Cause they put everything in one manufacturing building. So you would have Clorox, like their cleaner next to 409, because they also own 409, and it's the same bottle. And you're like, wait, like, basically for the bleach, you have to ship in the active ingredient. So it would come in on a train, they would unload the train, then the train would take off with the empty thing. So the train is huge, but we don't talk about those jobs. We don't talk about like people who do the your trash, picking up your trash every day. And that's the stuff that makes the world go round. Like we have to have those jobs, else postal people or nothing moves. Like all these CEOs who think they're the stuff, their stuff doesn't get off the ground without those.
It doesn't function without those people.
It does not.
So I always, blue collar is huge, and we need to be thankful for those people, but also let people know that they can do those things also. Those are jobs that are available to them. Yeah. So
absolutely.
That's huge.
This entire conversation is just giving me life. I'm psyched. I'm fangirling over here. I'm like,
this is why I started this This is why part of my reason for starting this podcast, because I started doing this series of just DMing people, asking them to be in, like, have a Zoom call, and then I was like, this stuff needs to be recorded. It needs to be on camera, and so that's what kind of kicked this off, because I was like, everybody's afraid to talk to someone else who's doing the same thing they are.
Yeah.
Like,
I literally was on a podcast yesterday recording an episode, and I said that. I was like, there's no such thing as fucking competition. Like whoever created this false narrative, like my experience, this, that, like we are so different. Yeah, we're creating logos, but like I'm sitting here talking about fucking Nipsey Hussle every day and like, you know, bringing my experience. Whereas like, you know, somebody might be like, I only want to like sell toothpaste on Instagram. And like, that's totally fine. Like we're all so different, but I think it's also okay to like celebrate similarities, you know, and we consider similarities competition, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Yeah, it's like, why can't the three of us like bond over our love for basketball or our love of, I don't know, like I love food, like I'm a home chef. And so for me, it's like, why can't we sit here and talk about bread all day? Like, why does that have to make me a competitor of you? You know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know,
you're still going to have your own audience and you're going to have to cultivate your own customers.
Exactly.
And it's not going to happen because of someone else.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we have to have the strength in numbers too. Whenever communities start coming together, that's when you start having that support and that growth. Period.
Yes.
And it's like, you know, like if I don't work on Shopify, that's a great example. I do not do Shopify. I will not touch it. I hate the platform. And so I've cultivated a network of like, okay, if someone comes to me and they do need Shopify instead of e-commerce on Squarespace, I can then give you business. It's not, it doesn't always have to be like feast or famine. Like we can move ourselves forward. And, you know, I primarily work only with people of color in my network because I know it's harder for people of color to find projects, to get hired, you know, and even I think that's more so me coming from leadership and, you know, knowing what the hiring process actually looks like. But I don't refer projects to white people. I just don't. I don't do it. I've never done it because I know that someone whose name might be harder to pronounce or, you know, they might be newer and not have a full portfolio. Those guys need the work. Not my friend over here who, you know, is quote unquote booked out. Like I have no interest in working with them. I just don't, you know, so. And that's the community aspect. Yeah.
I respect it because we got to get started somehow and the traction has to start. And and I'm doing the same thing. I'm Black, but I still want to help Black people and Black businesses because we need to get to the next point. They deserve to they live in this country. They're Americans. They deserve to get everything everybody else gets.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'll say something too, you know, so I'm a huge Shea Serrano fan. I have all of his books autographed. I know him on a pretty, I would say like normal level. And he lives in San Antonio. He writes for The Ringer. For those listening who have no idea who that is, he wrote, he's the only Latino to have 3 best-selling novels on the New York Times bestseller list. He wrote Basketball and Other Things, the Rap Yearbook, etc. And he had retweeted an article that I had written in undergrad about how rappers are historians. And I was like, holy shit, this like top fucking guy retweeted me with me. And then it got picked up by Charlemagne the God. And so it kind of started this like chain reaction. And I remember going to his book signing and being like, you probably don't even remember me, but like you retweeted this other article. And he was like, Sarah, I know exactly who you are. And when you get to be where I am, you are going to do the same thing. You are going to reach back and grab somebody. And that was like, so monumental in my life because, you know, I feel like trauma really, you know, overtakes what we can. We're always second guessing ourselves. We're always questioning our worth. And when he said that to me, I was like, I have to make sure I am always reaching back. I'm always pulling people up because he did that to someone he didn't have to do that for. And it got me like 3 different writing jobs, like just from a fucking retweet, you know? And so I look at it as like, if that's all it takes, 30 seconds engagement, and it changes someone's life, I can make time. I can make that 30 seconds happen, you 100%. Know? So, yeah.
I think that's
how I live. I don't know.
That's a great overview of all of Sarah and who she is.
I mean, our first conversation when we grabbed coffee, Cam, I was like, okay, who can I introduce you to? Like, what are we doing? Like stickers, let's fucking go.
Yeah, for sure. He was like, I know all these people, blah, blah, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like, woo. Like you almost need a second, a part two.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, let's go. I need to introduce you to anyone that I absolutely can, you know, because that's how you build your network, you know.
How to build the network.
Yep.
And don't be afraid to, and this is what I always preach, because a couple weeks ago I sent a DM to the Chutzpah girls, and
love them.
They're amazing. And I sent a DM and I was like, can we get on Zoom? Can we just chat? We sat down and chatted, and it was amazing. Like,
love it.
I was like, and they were like, your work's killer. And I was like, you're saying my work's killer? Like, it's just crazy that, and we talk bad about social media, but that's a great part of it. Like,
it is.
you get to just reach out and be like, hey, I'm here. If like, but it's really cool. And I'm glad to see people trying to build networks. Like, we need them. We need each other. We're better together. And that's really what it comes down to.
And I think, you know, everybody knocks social media, but I'm like, I would rather be turned down and left on red than someone like say shit to my face, you know, like I don't want to like be turned down or like, you know, whatever. And so for me, it's like, you know, I come across a lot of people who are like, I can't send. I'm so afraid to like reach out. And it's like, what do you have to lose? Like, you never know what could happen. And that's like, you know, I've had a lot of clients like that where it's like, great example, like literally 2 weeks ago, there's a butcher cattle company literally on the other side of Tesla. I can see Tesla from my house here in Austin, and they literally raise the cattle on the other side of Tesla. And then they sell these like meat boxes. So you can buy like 20 pounds of like ground beef, fillets, you know, whatever. And my boyfriend and I had been looking at Butcher Box for forever, but they're like $400 a month. And I'm not going to pay for it.
They're expensive.
And so Jesse had found this company, and I went on their website. And I was like, their website's trash. And
I love doing that. Me and my wife do that all the time. This page is trash.
It's like trash or pass.
What is this?
Yeah. And so I was like there was no way for me to pay for my order. It was like a contact form. I was like, oh my God. And so I was like, you know what do I have to lose to just give them 3 quick things they can do today to make their website better?
Oh, that's awesome.
But also like order from them at the same time. Right. And as the CEO, it's like a husband and wife that own it. And they delivered my order to me, and we had a discovery call, and they're a client now of mine. It's like, what do you have to lose just reaching out and providing value to people? Like you don't, you know? And it's always been a dream of mine to like have a butcher client. Like I want like a leather apron. Like I want to do it. Like give me a mustache. I don't care. You know, like I love
handlebar mustache, Sarah.
Yeah. It's like, I want that. I want my little bow tie.
I love
you know, and so it's like when you're like, even, you know, if I can leave you guys listening, like with anything, is like, you have nothing to lose. All that's holding you back is your mind. Like if someone doesn't respond when you do a cold email, fuck it. Who cares? At least you did it, you know? And that was the only cold email I've ever sent in my life. I have never cold reached out to a client, or lead rather. And this one ended up, my food is now raised 10 minutes down the road. I can see my steer that I'm going to eat. And, you know, it's delivered right to my house, but I have an incredible partnership now with a local business who knew they had a problem, but didn't have anyone that could fix it for them. And it's like, why not just kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you know?
And all it took was you just opening your mouth.
Yep.
That's it.
Well, my email, but yeah.
Your email, opening your email.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
You guys, I think this has been the most, I'm a very emotional person, period. Like you can, I'm so empathetic. It's disgusting. You're jealous, but most people are like, are you crying again? Like, again? Yeah. I cry.
People are like, why are you such a bitch? People tell me all the time, why are you such a bitch?
If I'm not smiling, people are like, what's wrong with you? Are you broken today? Like, why? Because I'm always
just restart, hit the restart button.
Just hit the But it's funny because people are like, oh, but you know, you're so friendly. You love being around everybody. And I'm like, but when I come home, I want everybody to go away.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like that for sure. I'm a very high energy person. Like when I have conversations like this, like once I'm off our call today, like do not talk to me. I have to decompress because I give so much to conversations, but like I don't do the emotion. Like, I don't handhold. It's like, you're either going to swing or swim. Because I think that's like the other thing about entrepreneurship too, is like, you can watch as many webinars as you want. You can download as many fucking freebies as you want. But like, at the end of the day, it has to be you doing the work. And a lot of people don't want to do that. And it's just like, don't pay me to be your coach because I'm not going to handhold you. Like, I literally say that on my sales page. I do not handhold. Do not cry, because you are creating the environment that you're in. And all you're doing is complaining. You're not trying to make it better, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have no patience for that.
Sarah needs to be the.
Jessa
needs joke. Sarah. Cam is good. Jessa needs Sarah.
My wife does that for me.
Oh my God. Yeah. I always joke that I have thick thighs and thin patience. Like, that's just how I live my life, you know?
That needs to be a t-shirt for your brand.
You know what? Let me write that down real quick.
Thick thighs and thin patience.
That's actually perfect.
It is. It really is.
Oh my
God. I'm literally writing that down. Oh my God.
Right. Well, you guys, I think that episode is going to be, there's probably enough dopamine for a year, honestly. Like,
it's a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah. It went by so fast. I feel like let me be on again. I'm here for it.
All right.
I think we would love that. And I'm pretty sure once every single one of our listeners hears this, they're going to be like, please bring her back. Bring that energy back. You made this a lot less awkward than it normally is. So
yes, I was like nervous. I was like, so are we
have questions?
What do we do? How do we talk to professional? Like,
yeah, I'm not a professional at all. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Yeah, I think it just comes down to like relationships, you know, like genuinely caring about people, genuinely wanting people to do better and be better, and how you can show up for them to be able to do that, you know? And 100%. And I say that with all my clients. Like, I had a call this morning with a potential lead, and I was like, I believe in transparency. Like, you got a question, my email's open. Like, I'm not going to sit here and charge you to give you knowledge to do better. Like, I'm not going to do that. I give my best stuff away for free, because everyone deserves to know something, what they want to know. All of my content is driven from my audience. And I don't believe in putting people behind a paywall to be successful. I just don't, you know?
I don't think you have to. Yeah.
You shouldn't do that, because then people are like, you're sketchy. Not ever want to be called sketchy ever.
No. We don't want the car salesman tag. We're good with that. We're good. Well, hard pass on that one.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one career I don't want.
No.
Okay.
I'll be a mechanic, but I won't sell them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I worked for a dealership for a year and a half. I was taking pictures of the cars in their car lot. And that was probably the hardest job I have ever had in my life.
Oh,
I mean, easily photographing 20, 30 cars a day, and you're just in the heat, and I'm like, I want to be inside with the suit and no, I don't. I'd rather be outside. I'd rather be outside.
I wear the same shirt and jeans every day. This shirt, it's a t-shirt. It's my merch line. It says I'm a badass CEO. I have it in a hoodie and a t-shirt. That's all I wear. And I wear jeans every single day.
That's how I do the black t-shirt and this black hat mostly every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sarah, where can our listeners find you?
Oh, yeah, sure. So my website and Instagram are literally the same thing. So it's 99, the numbers, and then St. Clair spelled out. So SAINTCLAIRE.com, or on Instagram. Those are probably the easiest places. So
dope.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, my DMs are always open. Yeah. Send me a DM. Any questions you guys have, literally always open. I respond to everybody. I'm literally always online every single day. So do not hesitate.
Sarah,
I'm approachable. I promise.
Honor. It was an honor. Thank you so much for giving us time, giving us your time. We know it's very valuable, and we appreciate you spilling your guts, because I know there are going to be so many people that are going to be able to be inspired by that. So thank you so much.
And being real. I appreciate
being real.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm always a half glass or glasses half full kind of person. So I will always be real with you 100%.
There you go. Well, you guys, if you want to tune in for another episode of Wisdom by Design, we will be here every Friday. And hopefully we have some more fantastic guests like Sarah, because that was over the top epic. So thank you guys for tuning in. We are on Instagram at Wisdom by Design Podcast. We're also on YouTube if you're not already watching us. and we are across every single audio platform that you can find. So thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jessa.
And I'm Cameron. And we'll see you guys later.
Don't forget Sarah.
I was like, do I? And I'm Sarah. Hey.
She's the new co-host.
Oh my gosh.
She's the new co-host. And this is Wisdom.
I don't know what you want from me, Jessa.
Listen, it could not be a Wisdom by Design podcast episode without the awkward, okay?
Yeah,
we had to throw it in somewhere.
We're going to play that. But we will see you guys next time. Thank you.